G'day everyone and welcome back to Tim's Tips. We are now on to NRL round 7 and having a quick look at the ladder. We can see that Broncos, even though after that defeat they are still sitting on top of the ladder. Panthers have moved up to 2nd, followed by Storm, Dolphins, Warriors, Titans, Roosters and Knights rounding out the top 8, and the poor Tigers are still sitting dead last. Now just a quick overview of last week's results. We did get the Storm, Rabbits, the Panthers and the Eels correct in the tipping, and the rest we did get wrong. But moving on to the bet review, so all of my tips from last week. Now this was a lot more positive than my NRL tips just for the footy tipping comp. We did have the Melbourne Storm winning. As you can see, I will have all of my tips coming up on the screen right now. I'm not going to lie to you guys. If I lose, if I win, I'm going to put it up and I'm going to show you how much money I do put on these tips. So we did have the Storm coming in at $1.70. I managed to get them on. Latrell Mitchell did go over for 3 tries in his game. We did get him at $2.25. We did have the Panthers over 25.5 total points. I got them at $1.87, and we did manage to score Jordan Ricky at $4 odds for an anytime try scorer. We did also have the Dragons. That was our only loss of the week at around $2 odds. I did put a couple extra in there so I could boost it to get better odds, because come match day their odds did drop and they actually did become the favourite. And we also did get the over 42.5 in the Knights and Warriors game. Now those were the normal best bets. Now I did actually chuck $500 on that Knights one, which after and as you can see, I did put the over 34.5, because in a couple of the betting things you can do a multi and get the boosted odds, which is what I got. So I did have a decent win there. And the try scorer multi, we did pick at 24-1, did come in as well. I had $10 on that, and that came out to around a $230 profit. So we did make some good coin last week on the betting tips, so I hope that you guys did jump on. But anyway, moving on to the games for this week, we do have the Dolphins taking on the Rabbitohs, 4th versus 10th. Now head to head, these teams obviously have not played each other, with Dolphins' first season in the comp, but the Dolphins are sitting at $3.50 to the Rabbitohs at $1.28. Now moving on to the player news, Wallace is out for the Dolphins and Totola is back out again for the Rabbitohs. However, Jennings and Bromwich are coming back for the Dolphins, and Johnston and Arrow are returning for the Rabbitohs. The season averages, you do have the Dolphins are scoring more points on average and more tries than the Rabbitohs this season so far, but the Rabbitohs do have a better defensive record, only conceding an average of 16 points per game, and total points in a Dolphins game is 44 to the Rabbitohs 37. And the weather is looking to be perfect up at Suncorp Stadium on Thursday night. But my pick for this game is going to be the Rabbitohs to win 1-12, and coming off of last week's big victories with these two teams high scoring and the weather supposed to be perfect, I am going to be putting my money on over 44.5 points in this game at $1.90. Now moving on to the next one, we do have the Sharks taking on the Roosters, 11th versus 7th. The head-to-head statistics are there, and the Roosters have won 3 of the last 3 games, so good track record they have. Sharks are $2.05 to the Roosters at $1.75 at the current moment. Player news, we do have Rudolph and Finucane are out for the Sharks, but Graham does come back on the bench. We do have Baker is out, but Tedesco does return along with Matty Lodge. Now on average, Sharks are scoring more points and more tries than the Roosters this season, but Roosters do have that better defensive record, 50 points in a Sharks game on average so far this season to 39 of the Roosters. And my pick is going to be Roosters 1-12, and I am going to be just betting on Roosters to win at $1.78. Currently the best odds are at Bet365 at $1.78. Next we move on to Manly taking on the Storm, 9th versus 3rd. The head-to-head stats, as you can see, Manly did win their last outing, but Storm did win the previous 2 before that. Manly are at $2.45 to the Storm at $1.53. Player news, Garrick is out for Manly, but Woods does come back. Nick Meaney is out for the Storm, and Cameron Munster is moving back to fullback, which is why Pezzett is back in the halves. Now Manly, just like the last 2 games that we have been over, Manly are scoring more points and more tries on average than Storm so far this season, but Storm do have that better defensive record, with more points being scored in a Manly game over a Storm game. My tip for this one is going to be, I am feeling a Storm 13 plus victory, and I am going to be tipping Storm 13 plus at $3 on Neds for a little bit of extra odds in this game. Then we move on to the Warriors taking on the Cowboys, 5th versus 15th. Head-to-head stats, they have both won 21 games apiece against each other, and we do have Warriors taking the victory in 2 of the last 3 games between these two teams. The odds are pretty much even for these ones, $1.87 to $1.91. Player news between these teams, we do have Egan and Martin are out for the Warriors, which are big blows, and Harris and Lussick do return. Now, Neem is out for the Cowboys, but Nanai and Talagi do return as well. Warriors are green in all stats so far this season. More points, less conceded, and more points in a total game between these two. I am going to be a bit brave, and I am going to take Cowboys 1-12. They have been letting me down a lot this season, but with those injuries, those major injuries to the Warriors, I am just going to rely on the Cowboys one more time, and let's hope that they do get the victory with my tip of 1-12. But I'm not going to be betting in this game. Not enough value, and I'm not 100% confident, so I am staying away at the moment. We move on to the Knights taking on Panthers 8th versus 2nd. Now, the head-to-head stats are pretty even between these two, 19 to 18 games, one apiece. But the last 3 games, you can see Panthers have wiped the floor with them on all 3 occasions. Knights are at a whopping $5.20 to Panthers $1.15. Now, Brayley is out for the Knights and Gamble is returning. The weather is looking fine, and season averages, no surprise that the Panthers are scoring more and conceding less than the Newcastle Knights. And my tip is going to be Panthers 13 plus, and my bet is going to be over 43.5 points at $1.90. I reckon this is going to be another high-scoring game. Once again, the Panthers are coming off a big victory, and along with the Knights, a big victory over the Warriors. So I see a lot of points in this game. So let's hope it gets over the line. We then move on to Titans taking on Broncos 6th versus 1st, a Queensland derby up there on Saturday evening. We do have Titans are sitting at $3.60 to Broncos $1.28, and Broncos have won the last 3 games between these two teams. Player news, Sexton is out with Foran coming back in to the squad for the Titans, and Flegler is out for the Broncos. I don't believe there is many key changes other than those ones. Broncos have scored more and are conceding less than the Titans, as you can see from those stats there in front of you. But my tip is going to be Broncos 1-12. I reckon it's going to be a little bit closer this game, so I am predicting 1-12, and I am going to be tipping Philip Sami anytime try scorer. He had a blinder last week. The Dragons just couldn't hold him, and he did manage to score. And I at $2.80 odds, I do believe that is pretty good value for him to score again, and he is a winger in pretty good form, and after last week he really did impress. So I'm going to be taking him at $2.80 with Bet365. We move on to the Raiders taking on Dragons 16th versus 12th with these two teams. As you can see, Raiders have won 2 of the last 3 games that these two teams have faced off. Raiders are at $1.52 to Dragons at $2.50. This game is predicting so far maybe rain, but it is only Wednesday. Anything can change between now and Sunday, but it looks like there could be rain. But anyway, Rapana is out after that horrible head injury he did suffer last week, but Whiten is returning, Tarpany is returning, and Kotrick is returning. There is maybe another one, but as you can see, I didn't have enough room. But anyway, Ravalawa is out for the Dragons, and Musgrove does return. Season averages, the Dragons are scoring more, and they also are conceding more, only ever so slightly than the Raiders, with a total of 42 points in a Raiders game so far this season to 48 to a Dragons game. But I am going to be picking Raiders to win this 1-12. They do have a lot of key players coming back, which is going to be a big boost for them, and obviously coming off of that victory with the Broncos, I do believe that is going to be the boost that they need to kick on their season finally. But I am going to be betting either team to win this 1-12 at $1.80, with hopefully the wet weather will help this bet, because usually with wet weather it does lower the scoring. So 1-12, either team is going to be my pick. Then we move on to the last game, Eels taking on the Bulldogs 14th versus 13th, 25 wins to the Bulldogs 23 in their history. Now, Eels have won 2 of the last 3 games between these two teams. Eels at $1.44 to Bulldogs at $2.75. Now, the weather is supposed to be looking fine, which is pretty good. Paulo comes back for the Eels. Adokar is out after that ankle injury he did receive last week. Burns, Pangai Jr. and Kikau are all returning for the Bulldogs, which is a good sign for them. Season averages, the Eels are scoring more points and more tries per game. They are conceding the same amount on average per game, and there is over 40 points in a game with these teams as well so far this season. but my pick is going to be Eels 1-12 at home. Even though Bulldogs do have some players returning, I reckon it will be a little bit closer. I don't reckon the Eels are going to run away with it, and they nearly got pipped last week by the Tigers, but I am going to be tipping Eels 1-12, but I'm not going to be betting in this game because I'm not 100% sure that I can find some good value, and I'm really confident with anyone with any try scorers or the points in this game, so I am staying away. Now we do move on to my weekly multis. I do have 2 this week. I've got another try scorer multi with Johnston, Edwards and Sami. That is at currently around $10.67 odds for those ones. And I do have a points multi with the overs in the Panthers and Rabbitohs game and the unders in the Cowboys game at $7.30. So overall my tips are the Rabbits, Roosters, Storm, Cowboys, Panthers, Broncos, Raiders and Eels, all to take home the chockies this week, but we'll see how we go, and fingers crossed we can have another amazing betting week just like we did last week. So make sure you do subscribe to the channel because I will be bringing these videos out every single week, and fingers crossed we can win some cash again just like last week. But anyway guys, thanks for watching, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.